I watched Searching and I took notes. I did watch the trailer before watching it, but I'd like to say that I was still pleasantly surprised by the quality of the movie, or actually, a little rant first. Oh my god, I bought the movie or I rented it from YouTube. But it's like you can choose between HD and SD, and I chose HD because it's a movie where everything is like it's on a desktop, right? So you'll be on Facebook, you see everything as if it's a desktop, and that means a lot of text. And if you're watching it in 480p, honey, you can't see any of the text. So I got it in HD. Well, guess what? It didn't fucking matter anyway because HD apparently didn't go over 480p. I I've already ranted on Twitter for this. Anyway, let's talk about the movie, shall we? I need to find my page in case I need to reference this. Oh no, I haven't even looked through my notes yet. Oh my god. I haven't looked through any of this yet. I just wrote it. Oh no. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna ignore my notes. Oh, my camera. I'm still adjusting this. So I'm gonna ignore the notes because I'll just look at it if I need something extra. But something I thought was gonna be awkward when I saw the trailer was, okay, if you watch the trailer, you see David, the father. He has like a face cam on the desktop, and I'd be like, but why the fuck does he have a face cam on all the time? Like, how are you gonna make it seem natural that his face cam, his whatever, is up all the time on his own desktop? Like, do you sit and look at yourself all the time? The answer is no, and they actually nailed it. I think there were like two times towards the end of the movie where I thought, why? But in general, they nailed it. Honestly, I was so shocked over how natural it seemed that he had the face cam on, obviously, because it has reason. It's a reason for it, you know? I was very pleasantly surprised to see that it wasn't a like awkward like view of him having it on, and he doesn't have it on all the time. And even when you can't see his face, you can see exactly what he's thinking the whole time. You can see exactly what he's thinking. I think that's insane. Like, there's a specific moment. Wait, I noted this down actually, this specific little moment. I think it was at 23 minutes into the movie. Yeah, 23 minutes into the movie, David was typing something to his daughter. Oh my god, I relate so hard to this. It's like you go on a full-on rant, blah, 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 and then you write an exclamation mark, and then you're like, oh shit, do I sound too mean now? Oh, it sounds like I'm yelling, and then he changed his exclamation mark to a dot, a punctuation mark instead. And that honestly made the moment, that made me laugh out loud, which I don't often do with movies. And I think that was a very well executed show of like train of thought, or just showing his emotion, showing like where his head is at. And in general, throughout the movie, they had like really good moments like that where we got to know what David was thinking. And again, that's not something I thought was gonna happen, because like, how do you do that if you're, how do I explain this? How do you show the train of thought if you're only looking at things through a screen? But it worked. It worked. Though at the beginning of the movie, I thought, why are they letting this 11-year-old girl have Facebook? I don't know how old she was. I'll be honest. I don't know. But it seemed like this girl had this whole thing, their whole life on Facebook, and yeah, why? I'm going to talk like specifically about the characters, but let's see, segue into that. I think the way the characters were portrayed were pretty accurate, right? Because you're naturally starting off. Sorry, you're naturally starting off the movie with like you know nothing about these people. You know that David is the dad, Pam is the mother, and Margot is the daughter. That's all you know. You know they had like a happy time. And so because Margot seemed to love her mother, you can imagine that when Pam dies, it's gonna like flare up some emotions, and that makes sense. You know, that's where the story is headed. It all makes sense. But you gotta realize, like, you don't know these people at all. And you can see David's behavior. You get to see his behavior, but you don't get to see Margot's behavior. And she's like the main part of the story. Like, she's not the main character, David is. But she's the one that it's about, right? Actually, maybe not. David is the one it's about, isn't it? I'll get back to that. I noted that down, actually. I noted down that David is a journey. He's on a journey on his own, honestly. But what was I talking about first? Like there is step-by-step process where you get to learn things about the characters, because it's not like, oh god, and I like this. It's not like the characters meet up for coffee and they're like, oh my god, you remember blah 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 when you were 13 and playing football, but now you can't play football anymore because you broke your foot or because of blah blah blah. Like, you know, when they just like go on a rant and like tell you their whole life story for no literal reason. It's not something you do, right? You don't have those dialogues with anyone of telling them, like, your friend, of remember that time because of. You don't do that. It's not natural. But in this movie, it was natural because they didn't do that. They introduced information in a very way that it was like in phases of finding out there might be a secret, and then finding out what might be the secret, finding out that was not the secret. And in these phases, you find like a little information about each person that it would be in regards to. And I've been tricked so many times with movies where they're like, they show hints. Oh my god. This whole movie, I was thinking like, oh my god, you gotta pay attention, because it's like a mystery, right? So they're gonna feed you like small little pieces of information, you need to remember it so you can piece it together and you can find out who the killer is before the protagonist finds out who the killer is. That's the deal. Like, that's what you have to do. It's exciting. I love mysteries so much. Oh god, I didn't do it. I couldn't do it. I did not find out who, or killer, I say killer. But that's in a general sense. Spoiler. I'm kidding. Let's see. So, hold on. Maybe I'll talk about this in the end, so we'll have like a spoiler-free first half at least. David. Let's talk about what I was just about to talk about. I wrote here that you have a factual journey of gathering evidence, right? So every time David finds new evidence or new leads, it like brings us to the next part of the journey of like, now we have to follow that and we're gonna find out more from that. We'll follow, that's basically, yeah, the factual evidence would be Margot's journey or Margot's life, her story. And then you have the mental journey of David's thoughts. So while he's like finding all these evidence or all these little bits of Margot's life, he's on a completely different journey of, I don't know, hating himself and shit. I think it was very... I'm yelling. Shit, I don't know how to talk. I'm gonna continue to yell. Who cares? I think at first I was like, oh, I don't know much about David, or like, I don't, because it's like hinted towards that he wasn't talking to his daughter as much, or like that they just didn't have a comfortable relationship with each other. So obviously I'm thinking like, well, maybe that was it. So Okay, you know what? Should we just... Okay, from now on, there's probably going to be spoilers. I can't hold it in anymore. When we get to the part where David finds out and the detective says that, like, Margot probably just ran away. She probably ran away. That is believable. It's 100% believable because of everything that, like, they've put together with the evidence and, like, not just the evidence, but also David's negative thoughts of himself. Like, maybe there was so much wrong with his parenting or, like, his relationship with her that she actually did run away. And we don't know that because as much as we know some of Margot's story, we don't know her at all. We know nothing of her, especially at that point. It was very, it was a journey, like finding out, like, oh, that part and that part and that part where, I don't hear, Margot really takes you for a ride. She had secrets. I wrote something in my notes here. No fucking way. Which is about a person who, you know, I didn't think of as a suspect, but then was a suspect suddenly. And I was thinking, ew. And no fucking way. No fucking way. But I honestly, I feel like I've been betrayed so many times by movies that I see the patterns they use. So in this situation, you have this shocking piece of information, this shocking piece of joint information. Like, you have a bunch of it that leads to this person, and I'm thinking, oh no, ew, ew, ew. And honestly, the build-up of, like, finding the information was so fast and so sudden that my first thought, okay, well, if David shares this with the detective and she's like, no, or like, oh, I can't deal with that right now, and he's gonna go do it on his own. Like, he's gonna go to this lead and figure things out on his own, then that's not gonna be the actual thing. At this point, I don't like checking how far into the movie I am because that's gonna be a spoiler of, like, whether it's the truth or not. So by the fact that David went there on his own, I'll be like, well, of course it's not gonna be that. And then you connect to, like, the little hints that was given earlier. Always gotta do that, always. I remembered this little piece of information and I'm like, well, it's just keyword, right? And I was right. I was right. Wait, I've been reading my notes all wrong. That's not even when I said no fucking way. Oh, I just wrote ew to that part. Okay, never mind. No fucking way was actually to the actual reveal. Yeah. Okay, towards the end, no fucking way. I was actually shocked. I was taken aback a bit by the bold decision to, spoiler, to bring out a person that we haven't really met to be, like, the person who is responsible. And honestly, that put me off so much. And I'm like, how dare you use that little coincidence be the main cause of her disappearance? What? How dare you? And then it just, like, balled up and balled up and balled up. I was like, but I'm not sure if this is satisfying. I'm not sure if I like the resolution of this. But there was one sentence, or not one sentence, it was one part where they explained, spoiler, huge, major spoiler, Margot is alive, right? But they thought she might be dead until the detective says, well, she would have been like 5 days without water in a ravine during summer. But then the dad is like, no, she would have been there 2 days without water because it rained on Monday or Wednesday or whatever. So, in some way, I'm not sure. I don't, like, thinking back at it, it shouldn't have helped so much, but at the moment when I heard that, I was like, oh my god, they continue to just add things up. It's like the little details where everything, it just connects. Everything connects. Even the fucking rain has everything to do with the ending. You have, oh my god, you have the pictures from the detective profile. You have, the tidbits of what the detective says. You have everything with David's research. Every little thing he looked at, I was like, but it all adds up. It's insane. I love that. I admire that. I think there were some things that I don't think I have any specific comments of negative stuff. Unless I mentioned some that I just can't think of now, but I really like the movie. I'm impressed with how they executed it because, again, I thought it was going to be like awkward. How are they going to fit it all into one desktop screen? But it was very natural. And honestly, the transitions between using one person's computer and going to someone else's profile and like being, I mean, if you're someone who is a lot on your computer or online, you know that your passwords, your users are so much of your life, right? As someone who has been like majorly depressed and using Tumblr like Margot and using social media as a way of escape and using like secret platforms, or like not secret platforms, secret users on these platforms, anonymous ways of going forward with them, I thought it was very powerful. Like I felt it, like, oh my god, yes, and now we're gonna find the answer. When David went into Margot's profile, like when he logged into her profiles, when he saw that like secret content, that hit proper hard. I felt like that is genius because obviously she's a secretive teenage girl. It makes sense. And because he's like struggling to connect with his daughter, when he is actually looking at her online self where she's talking openly and she's daring to like be herself and share her thoughts, I think that's like him having to go through her personal computer. Many probably would be like horrified, but I think that was really great. I think it's great that he did that. Also, can you tell that I can't keep eye contact? I'm looking everywhere but the screen. Sorry. Or screen. I mean, I am looking at the screen. I'm looking at myself to make sure I have the everything in view. It's so, this camera is freaky, bro, because I've been moving my arm this whole time, but you can't tell. That's interesting. Okay, anyway, I don't know if I have anything more to share. Okay, bye!